Hello and welcome to the incredibly influential and highly successful podcast. My name is Kael. I'm incredibly influential.
And my name is Maxwell, and I'm highly successful.
Today is Sunday, the 9th of June, 2024, as we are recording this. I've had a busy week this week. How about you?
It's been alright. It's been okay.
Are you alright there? Sounds like you got hit by an avalanche.
What do you mean it sounds like I got hit by an avalanche?
It sounded like you dropped something. It was just like something bonked the microphone or something. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, so we're how busy was your week? Not as busy?
Well, I did do a lot of things. I didn't just sit around.
That's fair. I would hope not.
But I took some time to do that as well, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that is fair. I've done that too. But do you want to tell us about your week first? We'll save the good stuff for later on. Keep them listening.
You're implying what I would share is not good.
No, I'm talking about even my shit. What I did this week was not good. I'm talking about saving the nerd shit for later because we know why you're here. You want to hear us talk about fucking Star Wars? I know y'all. You gotta wait. You gotta wait for that. But yeah, tell me about what you did this week.
Okay.
Actually, it's been a while since we've had you on, so you've got a couple of weeks.
That's right. It's been a couple weeks.
Yes.
Well, I guess since I've been back, I just been seeing friends. I've been going out to watch some movies. Can't remember what off the top of my head. But I've just been doing a lot of things. I've been seeing my girlfriend over the summer. I was with her Tuesday. Sick.
Nice.
I was getting my car fixed.
Cars? He's got multiple cars, chat. He's rolling in dough.
Well, we had a broken one, and then we had to replace it. Yeah, it was a whole thing. Anyway, cars break down and they need to be fixed. So I did that, and I did that with her. That was nice.
Mm-hmm. Even the boring, mundane shit is better when you're with someone you find interesting enough to date. It's better than nothing.
Right.
You don't want to do that shit alone.
We also went to get tacos and ice cream, and that was nice.
Fuck yeah, tacos and ice cream.
And we watched.
Did you get fried ice cream?
No, we just went to a Haagen-Dazs.
Oh, that's fair.
Up in Bronxville, and then we went back to her home, and then she introduced me to this show called Abbott Elementary. I never heard of it before, but it is popular.
Yes, it is on cable. It's one of the last things people on cable are still watching that's apparently halfway decent.
I didn't know anything about this, but it's I don't know how to describe it, but basically it's like a mockumentary about these teachers in a school in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's like Parks and Rec in an inner city school.
Yeah, and so it's kind of funny because I'm pursuing teaching and education, and the show has a white guy in it, and he's hilarious, but he definitely points out what it's not exactly what it's like, but making light of the experience of a white person who enters a predominantly black community, and it's so funny. It was really funny.
Is that the level at which you're trying to teach elementary, or are you going more for middle school or high school?
I'm currently gonna do elementary.
That's fair. That's a good time. I enjoy. I've thought about doing that before. Like getting in on in that like formative period, right? Because you can really like you can really see like the change more. Like it's drastic. Like
I'm
from
sure. I'm sure at any age that's you can see it, but
I don't know if it's just like from what I've seen, with kids that you can be totally different from like your birthday on age 5 to your birthday on age 6, right? In a whole year, they grow so much more
well, yeah, quite
than
literally.
physically and mentally. Yeah, like they do a lot of like growth and change in that period. So I think it's really interesting to see, and you can just be like a really solid influence on that growth in a way that like once you're in middle school and once you're in high school on a year by year basis the change isn't as drastic, but real early on, like from like kindergarten, in the kindergarten year, first grade, second grade, they're really like malleable. They're like reaching out into the world, they're learning these things, and so it's like you're really like putting an impact on like the kinds of things that they'll be interested in for the rest of their lives. And so I think getting that age of like teaching is when they're like it's just so interesting, and you'll be doing like the most good in their lives, or at least
Yeah,
having the most effect, good or
yeah.
bad.
I appreciate the the thing I joined, the program I joined. They're called City Teaching Alliance. Their
Hmm.
emphasis is on preparing educators so that when I enter an environment that is for people who are more vulnerable or at more risk to, uh, you know, insecurities that are related to their identity or
Hmm.
their environment, that um, I can still approach them and get the most, help them get the most out of their experience and time learning, which is
Hmm.
awesome. It's great.
Oh
And
yeah.
this show is so fun because it's like, it's a nice way at looking at, you know, kind of the mix of like, you know, there is those teacher and student engagements, but it's also fun to just like see the like, you know, ongoings, like just the lives of teachers and how those can have their own sort of nuance and uh,
Yeah.
they they have families too, and they have their own struggles, but at the same time they strive to be good teachers and support their students. I think it's a really beautiful message that this show um, sends out, and it's nice because it also is very informative. I really like these kinds of shows where like it's not just about being entertaining, but it's also about informing your audience about these sorts of climates and systems that the what I was watching was talking about uh, the charter schools and
Hmm.
how this I don't think it's a big spoiler, but essentially like they use charter schools as like a way of cautioning people to like their concept, because what charter schools are is that they're not publicly funded, they're
Yep.
privately funded, but their funding is also directly correlated to the the performance of their students. And
Yes.
so um, with that, uh, you know, it seems positive because it drives an incentive for higher performance, but they also pose a risk to public schools in the sense that like they have the potential to pull high performing students out of public schools, and that kind of causes the public school environment to suffer because there isn't a real there is like the mix of students is being like changed
Yeah, they're
externally.
taking out all the high performers, and
Yeah, Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's not good. And you can also be at risk of, getting kicked out of school for underperforming, and that seems kind of, you know, that's not good because all students and kids have a right to education, right? Like
Yeah.
that they shouldn't be given up on, because like how do you give up on kids? You can't.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Uh,
They're kids. I mean,
that
like
yeah.
you have you have to see it that way. If you're a teacher, you can't give up on them. You're gonna get pushback, and you're not gonna like every kid, but your role is to give them all the opportunities you can, and it's up to them to
Take
uh,
advantage of them.
yeah, but like it's wrong to deny it
Yeah.
from them. So
Uh
that's what I like about, that's the good thing about public schools, is that they don't they don't see kids based on their academic performance.
yeah. Well, small addendum, charter schools are publicly funded. They just
Oh,
aren't within the school district. Like
thank you.
they operate independently. Like they're private business, public funding.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's like another thing, is that there's probably more, like, private schools are all controlled privately. So the standard of their education is, mm, it's probably not as uh, regulated, or uh, it might be overly regulated. You don't really know what the standard is for a charter school curriculum.
yeah.
Like, so that there is some
Yeah.
contention there, because you really want that to be, as uh, impactful and beneficial to the students as possible. Not just like academic performance, which is important, but I think, the the ability to learn is much more fundamental
That
to
is true.
to a
Um,
student's experience.
and like statistically, charter schools are actually like way worse. Like they're doing a lot worse. Uh, than public schools, which is really surprising, right? But like,
Hmm.
John Oliver did a bit on public schools many years ago, and it's just like a lot of times it's the Wild West because it's just like you get your public funding, and as long as you meet like certain things, right, the charter schools are just being run the way they want to be run, and parents can choose to send their kids there. There's no charge for tuition, right? But the main thing that makes a private school better than a charter school is you have to pay that tuition, so they have to make it really, really, really good. They have to make it a very good school in order to justify that level of tuition. So these big private schools, I went to one briefly. We went to that boarding school together. You could call that one. And they had to justify the uh like the school tuition aspect. And so the one I went to for sixth grade and a little bit of seventh grade was, very uh it was very small. All the classes were very, very small. Um the grade levels were very small. There were only like uh two full classrooms worth. So every teacher would only teach like two classes per grade, and they would teach everyone. So everyone knew all the teachers, all the students knew each other, and so it was very intimate like that. And we had great uh like it was a small location, but it was like well funded. Everything was like really nice. The food was good. Everything was pretty good, and so they really justified the tuition for it. Um, I don't know so much about our boarding school considering the fact that it's fucking shut down. Um, which I consider a W. I think the fact that I outlived it is good. We both
Well,
outlived it, I guess, because
the
you're also still alive.
the reason it closed was because people didn't outlive it.
Yeah, exactly. And so it is sad, but at least they can't like you know uh mismanage and like hurt people anymore, and that's good. But with a private school, they have to work like that. They have to justify people going, and they have to make good business decisions, or they shut down. But with a charter school, it's they get public funding, and they have to meet like those like certain benchmarks and shit. But like other than that, they can do whatever they want, and so it's going to be less oversight than a public school, and less quality than a private school. So charter school is really the worst option. So like go like honestly, if you send your kids to a charter school, you're fucked, right? Like unless it's like a like a lot of charter schools are like tailored around disabilities and shit like that, and I get that. Like that's obviously gonna be a thing. So like if you have like a charter school for like blind kids or deaf kids, that makes sense. But like if you're just sending a normal kid to a charter school because you're like, I don't trust the public schools, you're dumb and you're stupid and yeah, you're a dumb guy. Don't do it. But yeah, back on the topic of Abbott Elementary though, it has Tyler Tyler James Williams, I believe is his name. Um, yeah, Tyler James Williams, who he's been in a lot of things. He's been acting for a very long time, but he was in Everybody Hates Chris.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he was Chris. He was the Chris who everyone hated.
Yeah, that's so wild. He is
Yeah,
he is very grown up.
yeah. He's 31, but he was on fucking Sesame Street, right? He'd been on Sesame Street. He was in a DCOM, and he was in fucking Everybody Hates Chris, and now he's on what is it? Is it CBS or NBC? I can never remember. Survey says ABC. That's the bitch. Yeah, and now he's on ABC sitcom, which is like one of the last things apparently that's worth watching on cable, because Brooklyn Nine-Nine's over. Um, yeah, it's basically just apparently Abbott Elementary is very good, and FX still has good shows. The Bear, Always Sunny Philadelphia, etc., etc. I hear Shogun is pretty good as well. That's on my list.
Yeah.
But yeah, and
But
it's like
yeah, there's a lot to watch. I just it was cool that my girlfriend recommended it because
mhm.
she knows she's on a binge streak though. She just finished watching The Bear, which I thought is like a time intensive show, but apparently not for her.
It's
Apparently she
not a
can.
very long show. I think it was only like like an 8 episode season, I think.
Hmm.
And there's only one season out, but I heard it's very good, and I need to watch
No,
it because it's about Chicago.
there's got to be more than one season.
Uh, Sorry, there's 2 seasons and they're 9 episodes each. They
Cool.
yeah,
We got it locked down. The news straight to you.
yeah. Oh, I guess they should probably yeah. It's the first season was released on Hulu uh in June of 2022, and then the second season was in June of 2023, and now it's going to be in June of 2024. Um, and yeah, so I need to watch that because it's about Chicago. I can't not watch it. But
Yeah, enjoy all those like
Jeremy Allen, yeah,
shots of Chicago.
Jeremy Allen White must be from Chicago. Nope, he's from New York City. Son of a bitch. He was in like 2 of the big Chicago shows. And yeah, he's literally been in Chicago shows since 2011. And he's from goddamn New York City. Traitor. Traitor. Traitor, I say. But, you know, fuck it. Good for him. You know, if he can act well enough that people don't know that he's from New York, because New Yorkers and Chicagoans are very different. Okay, you would never confuse them. So he must be like a brilliant fucking actor. I don't know what he's like in real life, but you know, I've seen him in Shameless, and I've seen clips from The Bear, and you know he gives off Chicago energy. So you know that's yeah, he must be a
Interesting.
very good actor.
I would I
Very good
wouldn't
actor.
I wouldn't be very familiar with Chicago energy, but I'll take your word for it.
We're nicer. We're way nicer than you. We are so much nicer than you. Um,
And
Probably better
modest.
drivers too.
Modest too. Really, really modest.
And our city isn't
Like,
disgusting.
like the most modest.
And our pizza's better. And our river's better. Um, you know, when we turn the river green, it's from food dye, not from whatever disgusting garbage gets thrown in the Hudson.
Does that make it any more ethical to turn the water a different color?
Yeah, it doesn't do anything. It's just food dye. You know, I would say the worst. I would say the worst thing that happened to the Chicago River was the fact that there was a disaster many years ago, about 100 years ago now, where a ferry that was like taking people over to like northern Indiana for like a company retreat flipped over in the river in like 10, 15, 20 feet of water, but like it was just like a shittily laid out ferry, so like a bunch of people died just from it capsizing in that water. And so I would say that has had a far more negative impact than any of the times that we've put green in the water. It's just green, you know. And have you ever seen it green? Have you ever like been to Chicago during the St. Patrick's Day weekend?
What's that?
Like St. Patrick's Day weekend, you know, like the weekend of St. Patrick's Day.
I
Uh,
mean, I didn't really do. I'm not familiar.
so during the weekend of St. Patrick's Day, they dump a bunch of green food coloring in the water, and it turns green. And you'll see it on the news. I've only ever seen it in person once. Like out of all my years of living in Chicago, I've only ever seen it once. I was with our friend Jacob. He came to the city, and we were like, uh, he stayed for the week, or maybe not for like the whole week, but for like a little while during like spring break or something. And we hung out in the suburbs for a while, and then for the last night we went up to the city, and it was cold as balls, but the river was green. And then the next morning it was even colder, and we did the riverboat architecture tour. And yeah, speaking of Chicago, I was just watching. Oh, son of a bitch! I was just watching the White Sox Red Sox game. It's the last game in the series, and I tried to watch the game yesterday, and I saw the grand slam, and that was super cool. But then my whole TV froze, and that was
Oh,
super annoying. Yeah, but at least I got to see the grand slam. That was cool. Um, but the White Sox and the Red Sox just went into extra innings as we recorded this. Like you called me in the bottom of the ninth, and they were tied. So they went into extra innings, and Boston just took it 6-4. Son of a bitch.
damn.
Yeah. I was so sad that I didn't get to see much of the White Sox Brewers game series, because those are my two teams and they're playing against each other, and that was cool. I only saw one, and I only saw like the ending of one, but you know, I won't get to see any in-person games unless I go over to uh Tampa, and that's like a 3-hour drive, so uh
Jeez.
I'll probably have to stay with Matt in in that area uh if I do that. But yeah, you know, hey, I love baseball so much that it's probably worth it, even though it's going to be ridiculously hot and sunny, and the food's expensive, and I don't even think they'll even play the White Sox. They probably will, but I don't know when. It'll still be worth it because I fucking love baseball. That is that. That's how you know I'm committed to the 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 game of baseball. Because I fucking love uh, baseball. But yeah, I guess as I kind of alluded to, I am I'm spending the
In
summer in
Florida.
yeah, I'm in Florida,
Spoilers.
baby. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just chilling in sort of near Jacksonville, and we're just yeah, we're having a gay old time. I got in yesterday. I guess it's getting to be about ad break time, so I think I'll probably save the explanation. We'll have an early ad break. So yeah, I'll explain after. So if you're listening this on Patreon, you better upgrade your subscription if you want to hear it. But yeah, see you after the ads. This podcast is sponsored by Amanda Redwine, your no-nonsense talk therapist and parent coach. Serving individuals and couples in both Illinois and Florida for counseling/therapy, as well as worldwide for parent coaching. Amanda's specialty is working with teens and young adults, as well as their family systems. Amanda has extensive experience working with youth who identify on the LGBTQIA+ spectrum. She has also done couples work based on a foundation of the Gottman method. She brings a light, no-nonsense approach to treatment that is approachable and empathetic. She is unflappable and makes her clients comfortable from the very beginning. Find out more at www.amandaredwine.com. That's AmandaRedwine.com. Thank you again for sponsoring this episode, and back to the show. Welcome back, everyone. Sorry to all those tier 1 patrons, gotta leave them on a cliffhanger. But yeah, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, or you're a influential and successful patron, thank you. Here's your reward: is you get to hear about my big ass road trip. So
You drove there
oh
to
yeah,
Florida?
all the way. Yeah, I finally got all my shit sorted. I was a lot. So my classes started this week. My I had to get property management people. I had to get something fixed in my drywall. And then I had to get rid of all my food in my refrigerator. I gave it to one of my friends. And then once I had all that done, finally I was able to pack up and head out. Brought everything in my whole computer setup except for the power cord for the monitor, which is kind of a big oopsie. But
I've been there.
Yeah. It's I felt really stupid. But my parents have a guitar, and the amp uses the same power cord, so it's a common power cord. It's the universal AC one, so it's easy to find. So I just they're not using it, so I just pulled it out and just plugged it right in, and we're here and it's working. So I'm happy about that. I'm finally have my workstation set up. I set it up literally right before we started recording, and it is I'm glad to finally be able to work again. I kind of took a break from working all that much prior to my road trip, but I'm here now, and I'm ready to go. So yeah, I'm just here. I'm chilling in Florida. But yeah, I headed out from my house on Thursday. I drove about 7 hours, went to Nashville, stayed with my cousin. My cousin's got a big old farm, so we just hung out there. The dog got to run around on the farm. He loves that. And my cousin has 2 dogs, so they were having fun. And the next day my mom didn't get in till 10, so we just spent the whole day just hanging out, me and my cousin, and we did some work for the farm. We set up some did some light construction, shot some guns, and then we went into downtown Nashville. I'd never been to the Nashville Parthenon, but that's really cool. The tallest interior statue in the world is in there, and that's really really fucking sweet.
In Nashville?
Yeah, and it's a full scale replica of the Greek Parthenon.
That's Wasn't that in Percy Jackson?
It was, but it wasn't in the book. It was a entirely like new scene that they added just for the movie. And yeah, and so they actually had some artifacts like from the movie. Like they had some like props from the movie that were there. So they like as you're going in, there's like a history of it because they built it for the Centennial Expo in 1897, and so initially it wasn't like supposed to be a permanent structure, but the people in Nashville really liked it, and you know the nickname for the city is like that it's the Athens of the South, which I guess is kind of correct. Like I wouldn't give any city in the South the title of like particularly intellectual or philosophical. But you know, Nashville has Vanderbilt University. So I guess if any city would be the Athens of the South, I guess you could say it's Nashville. But yeah, it's like right inside of Vandy, so they just made it permanent, and it's just sitting there. But yeah, so we did that, and then we went to Beer Garden and drank, and I had a burger, and he had wieners, and we drank beers, and then went home, and dogs played some more, and then I went to go get my mom from the airport, and we just said, fuck it, we'll go from there. So
Really?
I drove. Yeah.
What happened? What was the plan originally? Was it to go to Florida, or was it to stay in Nashville?
Well, I mean, obviously we were going down to Florida, but I think there was some debate between should we stay an extra day in Nashville or should we just go? And my mom has a stand-up class that she's going to tonight, so she was just like, you know, let's just go. And if she stayed, she wouldn't want to leave because it's like my cousin's got a really sweet setup up there, you know, and he's a good host. He's very affable, very personable when he wants to be, and so it's just really nice to stay with him. So I honestly didn't want to leave, but you know, now I'm here. I've got my stuff set up, and we're chilling and vibing. But yeah, we almost exclusively only stopped at Buc-ee's. We stopped at the one in Adairsville, the one just outside Macon, and then I had to drop her off at the airport, and there was a Love's right next to the airport, so we just decided to go there. But I exclusively filled up on Buc-ee's gas after leaving Nashville. Like that, and I'm very proud of that because Buc-ee's gas is super cheap. I don't know.
Cool.
Did you see on my Snap story that I posted photos at Buc-ee's?
I just see the dogs and your feet. You gotta censor those.
No, because you have to see the band. There's like the band between. So I'm very pale. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I am almost translucently pale. And this summer, you know, I've been working on my tan, right? But I've been wearing my sandals. So just like walking around, going places, doing stuff, I'm wearing my sandals. So the part of my foot that the sandals cover is exclusively just vampire white. And then everything else is like, it looks like completely tan by comparison, but like even the tan parts of me are extremely pale. So but you know, so I have the Snapchat story where it's just like my summertime activities, and the first post that I did was just a photo of the white band across my foot. And then I post my dogs, but my dogs are so small that they're like on the ground, tiny, so my feet get in the frame. there's a lot of feet pics on my fucking story, which is hilarious to me. But yeah, so I posted at one Buc-ee's, but then, by the time I was at the second, I had just woken up, and uh and when I went to the third, I just got gas. Like, I didn't even stop and go inside or anything. But yeah, I hit 3 Buc-ee's in that trip, and it was phenomenal. The one in St. Augustine is super busy, though. It is ridiculous. I am not a fan. But you know what? Fuck it. That's okay. But yeah, so it was a pretty nice road trip. And because we did it at night, Atlanta can be super fucking bad traffic wise, but like I slept through it and we did not stop at all. Like, there was zero traffic. And yeah, so definitely if you're gonna drive through Atlanta, do it at night, because otherwise you will be in traffic for like hours, and it sucks. It is so much slower to do it during the day. So yeah, I'm glad that we got here all in one piece yesterday. We got here at like 10 in the morning, 9:30, 10 in the morning, and I got in. I got to see my parents got a dog while I was down here for Christmas, and he's grown up about a large amount, and then they got another dog while I was at school, so I got to meet that one, and they're so cute. They're so fucking cute. They're both Shih Tzus. They're both like purebred Shih Tzus, but they're still like puppies, and they're just absolutely adorable. And I've got this big golden retriever, right? I've got this like big 80-pound golden retriever who, hang on, say something for like 5 seconds. I'm gonna open the door because I'm supposed to be watching him. Mister, what are you doing? Okay, I'm back. You were supposed to. Did you say anything while I was gone? I opened the door. I had to. Yeah. Hello? Uh-oh, I think we lost Maxwell. So, alright, I think we finally fixed the technical difficulties. We tried to record again, and it only lasted like 5 minutes. So, yeah, but what was I talking about? I was talking about the dogs. Yeah, so Buster, he's 80-pound dog, but my parents have these 2 Shih Tzus. They've got Enzo, who he's met before, and then they've got Carmine, who's new, and Carmine is just like super, like he's kind of loud, but like he's super timid and scared. He's in this room right now, actually. Come here, Minnie. Come here, Minnie. Yeah, there we go. I have him in my arms right now. He's so tiny. He's like 8 pounds. They're both like 8 pounds, but Buster's like 80 pounds. So he's 10 times bigger than them. So it's crazy. But yeah. But yeah, anywho. Acolyte time. I think we've been waiting long enough. Let us talk about Mr. Acolyte. Or I guess it's Miss Acolyte, because I guess the Acolyte is the Miss. Yeah, okay. What are your thoughts? We've seen 2 episodes so far. What are your thoughts?
I'm interested.
I am also interested. This is, yeah, it's certainly something. I don't know what, but it's something. And I'm intrigued as to where it could go. I would say so far it's got a stronger premiere than Book of Boba Fett and Mando Season 2 and Mando Season 3, obviously. So, as far as premieres go, pretty solid. But I'm just very, I'm very cautious But so far, they've done a lot to make it, I guess, sort of defy expectations and defy the cliches of like a normal mystery show. Because from the very beginning, from the first episode, we know who the killer is. So I guess we'll spoilers from here on out, but from the very first episode, we know who the killer is, right? And the question is more about why. What happened in this character's past, right? What happened to this twin, right? So they did do the twin sister thing, but like we're we're doing Criminal Minds instead of like CSI or Law and Order, right? Like we know who did it, and now we're trying to find out, hey, what's going on here? What happened in the past? What is the motivation, and how are they going to catch this person? But it's really, really interesting so far. The guy from Squid Game is doing a good performance. The Himbo Jedi is pretty cool. I don't really care for Amandla Stenberg, which, by the way, Amandla is a stupid fucking name. It is a dumb name. Change it. Fix it. It is not too late to change your name to not be dumb. Okay? So, go ahead and fix it. But her dual performance hasn't really, intrigued me all that much. But Carrie-Anne Moss got murked real quick. They couldn't afford her for very long. But Netflix's Jessica Jones could afford her for 3 seasons.
Well,
so
I mean, also her character just serves as like a way of propelling the story forward.
Yeah, an inciting incident. I'm just sad she didn't get a lot of characterization. It seems like the Wookiee is going to get more characterization than she did. And the guy who she made kill himself.
They might use her in like a flashback or something, right?
I guess, but it's still not enough characterization, honestly. Carrie-Anne Moss is a good actress. She deserves better. And...
well, I'm not the one writing the story, so...
I would rather she get more characterization than the second Wookiee Jedi in the High Republic era. Like, we already had Buryaga Agaburi, why do we need another one? Right? But, it's neat to see Vernestra all grown up, because she was obviously very different when she was a kid, and like a young Padawan. And by the way, speaking of Padawans, did you figure out who I was? So I texted Maxwell. I was like, there's an actor in this who I did not recognize at all. But like, they're doing such a phenomenal job that I just haven't recognized them. Right? Did you figure out who it was?
Was it Rhea Seehorn?
No. Was she in this?
Yeah, she's the Miri Allen.
She is Vernestra? Oh my god, that's crazy.
You didn't recognize her?
I didn't recognize her, and I didn't recognize someone else. Do you know who it is?
No, I guess not.
It's Daphne Keane from Logan.
Oh, she's the Padawan.
Yes, right?
Oh.
I didn't recognize her. I looked it up after the first episode, and then in the second episode, I was like, oh, I see it now. And it makes sense that they got her because she was really good in the action scenes in Logan. I think she has a background in like ballet. So
wow, she plays a totally different person in this show.
Exactly. Like she has way more dialogue, like Laura.
Well, I mean, like dialogue does not it's not like a better performance because you have more dialogue. It's just
no, but it's different.
Like, it is different.
Yeah.
That's cool. I had no idea. You said that she's in House of the Dragon?
No. Abigail Thorne is in House of the Dragon.
Okay, yeah.
She's in both. Yeah, so Philosophy Tube is going to be in both House of the Dragon and this show. So that's pretty interesting.
It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you like Philosophy Tube,
I do.
I'm gonna say something a little problematic about Philosophy Tube, and I don't want to be.
You better just be careful.
Like, it's not like
you know there's be conscious of what you say.
I mean, it's not transphobic. I don't like. We have a trans friend. I don't think Kat would find it transphobic. I think it's a pretty valid point, but it's gonna sound a little bit transphobic. But I feel a little bit deceived because when I first encountered Philosophy Tube, right, I very much immediately connected with some of her videos, right? But this was back when she was presenting as a man. And so she made a lot of videos that were very relatable to me as like a young man, you know? And then when she came out as trans, I just was like, well, now I don't feel like I can relate to that as much anymore.
That is kind of weird because that is weird to say because she changed something about herself, but she's not a different person. She's still the same person.
But it felt like she was presenting, and this isn't her fault, obviously. It probably took a lot of soul searching and like anxiety and all that to like come out and like admit it and begin living as a woman, like out as like presenting as a woman and
being a woman.
Well, I mean, they were always a woman. It's just like all trans women are always women. It's just, do they present as outwardly as a woman? And before she started being out and proud and doing that, right? Like she was presenting as like a man, like a male ally who was, trying to do better, was like pushing back against. Are you okay?
Whoops.
Whoopsies. But like pushing back against like right-wing bullshit, right? But like someone who understood like men were going through like serious issues, right? But then
I mean, yeah. So was she.
Yeah, but like it feels like I latched onto this personality, and like I know that it's parasocial, but I related very heavily to some of the stuff that she said and this persona, and so I just felt like a little deceived by it. But like obviously
it's kind of weird to like implicate deception because like she was still trying to be as genuine as possible to her audience, and like she still has those videos up, the ones that you were talking about, and I'm sure that there is some contention there for her because it's like these don't really present the way she wants to be presented now, but she still sees a merit to keeping those videos up because there are people like you that do identify with the things that she said in those videos, and that just because her identity changes doesn't mean that those things are any less credible.
Okay, how about this, right? If there was
like, but is that would you agree with me? Can we agree on that? Can we agree on that?
And I don't think it was like a malicious deception. Like I don't think it's a malicious deception. It's just I related to her more when she presented as masculine and like had this like masculine insight into these issues. But if the line that we are given is true, that trans women have always been women and like their brains are female, right? So then, like, her perspective on
Well, I think
is different.
it's, the language in which we use to talk about it, has to be considerate and, encompassing the experience of trans women. So, trans women are women.
Yes, always have been, always will be.
But I think there is like a discovery. Trans women are not gonna deny that they're that they had a previous identity of some, and I just think that I don't know. It seems how does that make anything that she said in those videos any less genuine, or any it seems so disturbing to say that you were deceived because she came out and she wanted to be more like herself, and you take that as like grounds to feel less connected to her. I mean, if you do, it's kind of just I would reflect on it, because like we should be able to connect with everyone in some way, and we would have to we have to bring it upon ourselves to like discover what's holding us back from connecting with them, because it has nothing to do with her.
I looked up to the male presenting version of the former Oliver Thorne as like a positive male role model who was going through some of the same shit that I was, who was trying to be like a good ally and a decent person, but like was also having like male issues. But if trans women are like have always been women, then it's like I still respect her, and I still like I don't think there's anything wrong with those videos, but like deception doesn't have to be malicious, but like they had to have known that there was like that like
I don't
they
see
knew
like
something I didn't, and I feel like I can relate to them less because we're not the same in that regard. And
I know,
so I valued
but you should also
their
value privacy, because those things are very vulnerable and personal experiences, and it
yeah.
really is significant that she made a video coming out. Honestly, you watched videos of Philosophy Tube before, but my first exposure to her videos was the one where she comes out. And so it was it's big.
It is.
It is big, but it doesn't it that that transition should not diminish her you know her ability, like the everything she had already done to earn her audience and her trust with that audience. I'm sure that she felt that that was like a lot of the reason to be comfortable enough to come out
But
to
she's
her
not a
audience.
male role model anymore. Like that, it would be transphobic and sexist of me to say that she is a male role model.
Well, no, I think that's wrong too. I think that you can find, like, anyone of any identity can find a role model in anyone, and it's
Yes,
you're not limited by your own identity. You
I
should
was
not be,
looking
and
towards
neither
someone.
should someone else's identity limit your ability to connect with a role model.
You are an Asian person, yes or no?
I mean, if you want to label me, you're a
You,
white person.
yes. Do you have role models from the Asian, community who you want to emulate because they've gone through the same struggles that you have and face the same issues that you do? Yes or no?
I mean, I haven't really experienced them because most times I'm white presenting, so I don't typically face those directly. I'm also a man, so a lot of discrimination that I know people face because they are Asian are women, but it doesn't. But honestly, those people are, you know, the people who persevere through that are my role models.
And and you look up to them because they went through
But
the
they're
adversity,
women. They're women. They're not
but
men.
they've
And they
still gone through.
experience something that I don't experience. But that doesn't diminish the what what they go through and how that can serve as an inspiration to who I want to be as a person when considering what they face and how they push through their lives against backlash, against discrimination, against any forms of obstructions or obstacles that they face. I
I
mean,
feel like you're being
honestly,
willfully obtuse about this.
no, I'm saying that I don't have to identify with people for them to be role models.
And I'm saying that someone who went through
I mean,
similar struggles
I,
to me
I,
and who is saying and who I believed, you know, not for any fault of their own, like I understand why they didn't come out immediately, right? Especially because Britain, you know, has only been getting more and more transphobic, right? Like I completely understand that, and I look up and I like admire them for that reason, but because I thought of them as being, because they presented as like a male role model, as someone who is just like, you know, like like a white guy who is still trying to be an ally and still trying to be progressive and still trying to do all that shit, right? And like relating to like the male struggles and shit, I don't feel like I can look up to them anymore for the reasons of like being a male role model, because they now live as a woman. So now they have an entirely different set of struggles. And it's like, yeah, like good for them. You know, I'm glad you transitioned, right? But I don't want to transition. I don't see myself as a woman. And so it's like there's very few like men on this side of the spectrum who I feel like are good role models, right? Because a lot of them are like,
well, I think a large problem is because men often don't connect with those marginalized communities. And because they don't, the people who do are more isolated because they don't have male role models, you know, because well, not like that, but like if you don't if you don't consider like I don't get the why is the status of a male so important and significant to your,
do you have role models that are teachers?
I guess, yeah,
Do
they're
you have,
most they're mostly women because they're,
okay,
I mean, some
but you
are
want to
men,
be
but
like them because they are teachers and you have that in common.
yeah, but the like you're using a good example. Like gender is not a a factor in how I can I can extrapolate from what they do and what I find inspiring. Like it doesn't I don't
But
have
you
I don't have
didn't
to
learn how to be a
transpose
man
I don't have to
from
I don't have to
male role
transpose
models.
my own identity onto them in order to be inspired, in order to relate to them, in order to feel connected and close and listen and understand their struggles.
I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying at all, or
But
you're willfully
I
trying
don't
to obfuscate what I'm trying to say.
I think it's malicious to say you're deceived.
I don't think it. I think that's a factually true statement. I like we were not given all the information. Maybe
but if I'm saying it's malicious for you to say that, then it means that what you are saying is antagonistic. It's
I
not. It's
related to a person who, and maybe this is partially wrong for me for being parasocial, right? But like, I related to someone because I thought they were a positive model for like young men to have to go forward.
But I'm also confused why you limit Philosophy Tube's like role as a
Because the
model
video that I
to
related
exclusively
to,
men.
because the videos that I related to were talking about her struggles as someone who presented as a man at the time and was struggling with mental health issues. Like
Well,
that is like that's
then
what the fuck is the problem?
Well, that's what I'm asking you, because what's the problem with her transitioning and the messages of that video being different?
Because a trans woman has always been a woman. So it is, instead of being a man who is going through a struggle, it is a woman who's going through a struggle, and they're going through a different kind of struggle.
Well, I think if you perceive it that way, then you're not fully understanding her experience, because
But that implies that she wasn't always a woman.
transitioning is, it's different from saying are and always were. You get what I
Always
mean?
were. They
That's not what we're
always have.
saying. That's not what we're saying, and I don't think they would say that either. I mean, they might have felt that way, but like, in all social and any form of definition, she was a man. It's really like, and I think it's just that doesn't diminish what she was struggling with at that time and what she was experiencing, because she was experiencing those things as a man. And she came out later, but when she made that video and when she voiced those concerns, they were as she had experienced them as a man. So I don't see how something can happen later in her life and then that suddenly devalues everything that she shared, because like that's like everything about keeping those videos online, is that she understands that the messages of those videos and the way people could relate to them is more important than her comfort and the security she has in upholding a singular image of her identity.
I think it's transphobic to say that, first of all, if you look at it statistically, most trans people know around age 12. If you didn't know until you were in your 20s, you are like so
I
rare.
think that's a weird way of like dividing trans people. It doesn't matter what age you discover your identity. They're all equally important, and their discovery is all equally important regardless of what age they discover their identity.
But
It
she
has
was
nothing to do,
25.
especially when we know that there's so many programs, and our education system is designed on like not teaching this and not putting putting this out in the open space. The discussion of like queer living and experiences is largely reserved and kept away from kids. So it could be hard to like kind of find and feel that and really embrace that identity when it's prohibited from you for such a long time, especially during your youth.
If there was someone who was a prominent, again, well, let's go back to the Asian community standard, right? Let's say there was someone who was a prominent voice in the Asian community, right? But then, they came out later and said that it turns out they were not Asian at all, and knew that they weren't Asian for quite some time, right?
I don't think this is a relatable hypothetical you're bringing up.
If you related to someone because you thought they were a cis man and you said this is a good role model for cis men and they came out as a trans woman, then that is fundamentally a different person.
Well, why does someone have to only be a role model for certain people? That's such a why don't you permit like someone to be a role model for a wider audience?
Because I looked up to them specifically in the way that they carried out the gender role of being a man. Just like you look up to certain teachers for the way they carried out the role of being a teacher.
But why are you projecting your I'm not trying to say that like me wanting to be an educator is everything that has to do with the way I can perceive some teacher as a role model. They can be a role model to students. And the students are not teachers, but still the students can feel inspired and see the teachers as a role model. In the same way that you, as a straight, cis, white guy, are inspired by her videos. And you are not the only one. There are probably many people who have varying identities different from yours who are also inspired. And if she, formerly he, was a role model to all those people, then she's not exclusively a role model to you, to your identity. She's a role model to other people, a variety of people.
She had a video. My introduction to her was literally a video called Men, Abuse, and Trauma.
But I don't see how, why does someone's identity...
Because people experience trauma differently based on their gender.
But that doesn't mean that like men can't talk about women's struggles, because there should be a conversation for everyone about that.
Actually, we can't. They say shut up and stop mansplaining. They tell us to sit down and listen.
That sounds like something you're saying. That sounds like something you're saying, because I think women are open to it.
Do you think white people should be talking about black struggles? No.
Yes, they should be.
Not over black people. White people should be listening to black struggles. Straight people should be listening to gay people's struggles. And women should be listening to men's struggles.
But all voices, all people should be a voice for those struggles. Not just the oppressed communities.
You can be a voice for it, but you can't say that you lived those struggles when you didn't.
You're talking about struggles that she did experience, because
as a trans woman, as a closeted trans woman who is different from a man. If they were not mentally different from cis men, they would not want to transition.
Well, I think you're detaching her personhood from your own by saying that, because
I don't think so.
She doesn't become... No, I just seriously, like, it's so strange. It really is strange to...
I thought she had a similar lived experience to me, and it turns out that she didn't.
She still might. just because she has a different identity doesn't mean that you and her might not have shared a similar struggle.
But she related to it differently because she is not the same gender as me. And so she has different mental processes. That is a thing. Men and women see
you
things
believe
differently.
that. You believe that. You believe
The
that there
field
is
of
a
psychology does
you.
that.
I don't believe it.
Well, you can fucking not believe that the sun's going to come up tomorrow morning, but see if the sun cares about that. Men and women have different mental processes and see things differently. Trans women see things different than cis men. Even though they have the same fucking chromosomes, trans women see things differently than cis men. And same thing with trans women and cis women. Or trans men and cis women.
I think you're creating categories in a space where there is a spectrum, and we have to be open and considerate to people falling onto this spectrum in ways that don't fit these binary or limited categories and identities that are being used as a way of diminishing people's struggles.
Race is a spectrum, but if somebody claimed to be Asian but then wasn't Asian,
but you see,
would stop relating
it's not
to
a
them.
it's not a good comparison, because you've had this conversation with me before too. It's like people can't change their race, so
people can't change their gender. Okay, if people could just change their gender,
I don't even know. I don't.
People can't change their gender. They're born with the gender that they are, and they transition their body to match their brain. That is Ask Kat. We can call Kat right after this. I'm pretty sure she's on Discord right now. We can call Kat right after this, and she can absolutely back that up.
I feel like you should watch Philosophy Tube's videos.
I have been, but I don't relate
because she's talking about this right now. She is talking about how, sex is what we're born with.
No, we're born with our gender identity.
I mean, we are, because it's connotated and connected to our sex.
No, I'm saying people change their physical characteristics to match their mental gender identity, which they are born with.
I am aware of that. It's
like you can ask just about anyone, even from childhood, they know that they aren't like a cis person. They're like, this being a trans woman is going to be like, this being a guy thing doesn't feel quite right. And so they'll make a change later on in life when they can. When they feel comfortable coming out.
Do you know?
Yes.
Because you made it seem like the people who don't make a decision after 12 are different people, or they're, but they're the same people.
12 is the average, but like if you didn't definitively know that you are not a boy or not a girl by like 15, 16, 17,
before you've gone to high school, before you graduated high school, before most people have a job.
Now you're sounding like the fucking conservative people who are like, they're too young to know what gender is. They don't know. How are they going to know that they're...
I'm trying to use those examples to say that people are discovering themselves, and that, they might not know everything about their gender at that point in their lives, and it might take more time for them.
That's what I'm saying. My point is, I brought that up to say
why does that make that a problem? Like, that's so weird. Like, it's not a problem if people are taking time. And
when did I say it was a problem?
Well, I don't see why it's so important to bring up because you were like, I don't know why, and it's like, well, what about all these things that might be going on in their lives that are, preventing them from embracing their identity.
She was 25 and I literally, when did I say that I don't understand that? Never. I did not say that. I completely understand why they might not want to be out and proud with it.
I'm sorry, but I'm saying you said earlier that like people can't change their gender. You said that, your own words. But this is like, these people's lives are a testament that they can.
They didn't. If they could change their gender,
I disagree with you.
If they could change their mental gender, then no one would transition because they would just change to be what they were born with. But no, they can't change their gender, but they can change how they present, and they can change their body to fit with the gender they have. And Kat would tell you that what I just said is far more accurate. I'm telling you from the lived experiences of all the trans people I know. Even Abigail would probably tell you, yeah, that's how it works. I can't change my gender, but I can change how people see me and how I outwardly present as that gender.
You know, I would love the input of a trans person on your beliefs.
We can call Kat after this. She's on Discord right now. But my point is, I related to a persona that was not correct, that was not true to life.
Whoa. Yeah. Huh. You got a little Freudian slip there.
I related to a persona that was not true to life. And I feel like that's the same way with all parasocial relationships. And so partially
you don't believe, it seems like you don't believe it's correct, which I would say is incorrect.
Yeah, it's correct. Abigail Thorne is not a man. Abigail Thorne is not Oliver Thorne. Oliver Thorne was not a real, true.
That's the contention, is that, you know, this is where we're not on the same page, is because I understand that Abigail was Oliver.
Abigail has always been Abigail.
Well, I just, then if she felt so strongly about that, then there would be some sort of addendum to her earlier works. But,
I think she probably has put in something in the description, but, I've watched them, like, I didn't watch them.
I think it's too weird. Like, what a weird thing when you don't think people can change their genders. And
no one changes their genders. No one changes their genders. No one changes.
I don't know how you found that logic for that to make sense, because their identity is transgender, a transition of gender.
They are not changing their gender. They have always been a gender, but their body didn't match their gender. That's the problem. Their gender didn't match what they were assigned. But I would say that yes, they would see the fact that their body doesn't match the gender that they exist as. Yes, I would say that they would see that as a problem. Otherwise, they wouldn't be going through a lot of very painful, very invasive surgeries to fix it.
I think the problem is the perception of trans people. I think it needs to be more encompassing, more related to and connected with their identities and what their experience is. And I don't think we can really talk about it without them being here.
Okay, we can call up Katerina right after this, but I'm going to tell you, she's going to understand exactly what I'm saying.
All right, well, there's a lot to unpack.
Did you think growing up that your dad was a good guy and that you should be like him, and that you should like as a man you should try and be like him.
I don't. This is so weird. Like, why does it only have to be my dad that can serve as that role model? Why can't
Or
my
Luke Skywalker, Indiana Jones,
why is
James
it-
Bond, Bob
why
the
is it-
Builder,
Why are
fucking
you why are you
Bilbo
restricting it to men?
Baggins?
Why are you limiting the pool of role models to men? Why can't women be role models?
Because you're performing the role of a fucking man, you brainlet. Use your brain. Listen to what I am saying.
I am.
You are looking to people. This is very, very basic psychology. This is psychology 101. You use models to change and influence your behavior to be like them, which means that people who perform gender are models for you. So you will influence your own behavior to be more like them. So yes, you can have women who are role models. You can view them as, role models for life. Like, if you want to be like, who's a good female role model? Princess Leia fucking takes charge. She's a badass. She's like,
You couldn't use a real person.
I don't know, fucking Oprah. Grew up not in a great position, but she got on TV.
She's a billionaire.
She didn't grow up that way.
I know she didn't, but she's one story.
Fucking I don't know, my mom, your mom, fucking
Great. Good examples.
Yeah, you can be like, hey, those are those are good people to emulate. They have good qualities.
Those are my role models.
But they don't have the masculine qualities that men have.
But masculine qualities are socialized onto us.
From who, Maxwell? Who teaches us those qualities? Could it be models? Could it be the people who model that behavior to us?
It can be the collective community. It can be men and women.
You are learning from observation. This is psychology 101.
Stop saying that. Stop saying that. Like, it's so frustrating for you to just, proclaim.
You are going to be a role model to these kids. And yes, the fact that you don't understand this point.
Boys and girls alike. Well, I want to be a role model to both. I don't think, just because I'm a man, I'm going to say, oh, please, girls, do not look up to me as a role model. Because
I never said that. I said they're going to look up to you to act in ways for the fucking masculine gender roles.
But,
it's not a difficult point that I'm making.
I think it is difficult because masculinity is not something we know about the genetics of testosterone and of estrogen as chemicals that provide or affect and influence physical attributes that we attest as being masculine or feminine. And even that's weird because we have almost everything except for the singular organs, the same human body. So what really makes something more masculine or more feminine, and what makes us human? Because I think they're connected. I think it's
I'm trying to find the most basic way I can explain what I'm trying to say here.
I'm trying to as well.
Why?
Please listen to me.
Why do children of who grew up without a father, why do they have so much of a disadvantage? Because they don't have say it with me now, it's 3 words, it's 4 words. Positive male role model.
You mean positive female role model?
No, they grow up with single mothers. If they grow up with single mothers and they don't have a father figure, if they don't have a father figure,
okay,
what do they not have?
They don't have a father figure. I thought you said that like they only have a father figure.
No, they don't have a father figure. They only have a single mother. What do they not have? A positive male role model.
But I don't. Even the presence of a father, they can still be a bad person, and they wouldn't be a good role model. So I don't think gender has anything to do with it. I think it's about your merit and your values as a person and what you like. It just has. It has.
But you get those values from other people.
But it has so little to do with gender. I just, I think that like, because if it was, schools would still be segregated by gender, because there was that much of a discernible difference between men and women, but there isn't. So women can teach boys, and men can teach girls.
But women aren't with these children more than their parents are.
It's not like, okay, I'm not. But like I just want to finish by saying like they can't teach them everything. Obviously, there are some skills or some experiences that can only be related based on your sex.
Yes, and your assigned and like the gender you choose.
Assigned gender at birth.
Age-ab and your
But if you can relate to someone based on their assigned gender at birth, then you can relate to Philosophy Tube's videos.
I don't relate to them because they're assigned gender at birth. I relate to them because of their. I related to Oliver Thorne, the persona, who again it wasn't malicious.
The person. It's not this like it's so wrong to say. No, it's weird. It's really weird because it's like what. Because you imply that Oliver was less of a person than Abigail is.
Less of a man than I am.
Or less of a...
Because they don't see themselves as a man. And they didn't back then.
Persona is such a weird way of, describing someone's identity.
But that isn't their identity.
But it was. It was.
I'm telling you for a fact, you could send an email to Abigail right now that, hey, were you like pretty sure you were trans when you made that men abuse and trauma video in like 2018? Because she's 31 now. That video came out in 2018 and she was 25.
I don't know why I have to do that for you.
But I've already made up my mind on this.
See, and that's the shame.
You are a cis man trying to explain transgenderism to me.
And you are the same. You are doing the same thing. Why are you describing what I'm doing as like somehow worse than what you're doing?
Because you're going against what I've heard from real trans people. It's like if you were to explain to me like how it is being a black person.
Okay,
right?
I don't mean to overextend, but I think it's wrong to say that Abigail's videos from when she was Oliver are less authentic because she changed her identity.
I'm saying she didn't change her identity.
And I know you're saying that, which means that we're not having the same conversation.
There are two versions of the self. There is the I and there is the me, right? I is who you are on the inside. Me is who you are to everyone else. She did not change the I, she changed the me. So I'm saying parts of that video were from the perspective of someone who is different from me in a lot of key ways that I think make it less relatable for me. It's probably still authentic, but it's not coming at it from the same place as I thought it was and where I was coming from. So it's different. So it's like
No.
it's like if you were asking someone for advice, if you're asking someone for advice and you're like, and they give you advice, but they were in a situation that was different from you. It's like it's not going to apply 1-to-1. And that's what I'm saying. I thought it would apply more closely than it would, but because they were in a different situation.
I'm trying to tell you that you don't have to feel less connected and related to the video. You choose to.
Because the situation is different.
But it's still your choice to interpret it differently.
It's like, all right, think about it like
this. Because that piece in no way changed, and in no way changes because she changed her identity.
She didn't change her identity. She changed
but
her
that's the problem. I don't know how else to make it more like the community is known as the transgender community. What does the word transgender imply?
It's an inaccurate term then, because they never changed their
what the
gender.
Fuck?
If they could choose to be any gender, why would they change their gender to one that isn't what they were born with?
Well, why would they identify as transgender if they didn't transition their gender? Please make that make sense. If you want to say something argumentative to that.
You want me to find I found the definition of trans person, and it goes with what I said. A transgender person is someone whose gender identity differs from that typically associated with the sex they were assigned at birth.
Yeah, but sex and gender, you're using sex and gender interchangeably.
I'm not. I'm literally saying their gender identity is different from the one they were given at birth. They don't change that identity. They have it.
You said it's different and they don't change it. That doesn't make any sense. How can someone change something? How can someone not change something, but then, have some part of their identity become different? That's
because
change.
Nothing about their identity was different. Their identity in their brain has not changed. This is they might get a bottom surgery, so they have different genitals. They might take different chemicals to alter the way their body looks, but the thing in their brain never changes. That is the point that I'm saying.
You're like almost onto something,
I'm literally telling you exactly off the fucking Wikipedia page of transgenderism.
Well, you're right. Nothing about their brain is changed or different. And that applies to men and women.
Yes. When did I say it didn't?
Well, I'm trying to say that. See, now I'm painted as a bad person, but I'm trying to say.
I don't think you're a bad person, but I think you're going against what I've heard from real trans people.
Well, I'm trying to say that their identity does change. I'm not trying to say their brain changes.
Gender identity is in the brain.
I
don't know what to tell you.
I just like I get what you're trying to say, because people who find that identity, like at what age they find it, often take a lot more time to bridge their thoughts to their presentation and the ways that they can express their true identity, like you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
You're right. Their brains don't alter or change through this process.
Yes.
But they do they do go through change.
Yeah. But that's not the identity that's changing. It's just their body.
I think that it's...
Well, that's not exactly true because the estrogen does go into their brain, or the testosterone does go into their brain.
Yeah,
so something changed there, but like
those things do influence, those have an influence on the brain, of course. People are capable of change, and that's what they're proving by changing their identity.
Maxwell.
And you don't, but like you don't. I can't talk about it anymore because I feel like we're at an impasse. You said people can't change their gender. It doesn't make sense to me.
Because they changed their appearance.
You think if I think they're changing a lot more than that when they transition.
They change their role in society because they have a different appearance.
There's so much more than just like I agree with you. Brains don't change through this. Like those things are still unaffected by people's transitions.
Yeah, like their beliefs don't change.
I mean, I
don't know. Maybe they do.
I think there's a lot to hear and learn and discover about the trans community that maybe both of us could open up to.
Yeah, but my initial point is that
but I don't want to. Sorry, give your point. I just want to say that I don't want to limit their voices and their experiences.
I don't either. I agree with that fully.
And I don't even want to do that to the point where I would say that they become less relatable as people.
I don't find them less relatable as people.
Or that their experiences are any less relatable because they went through an experience that I didn't. Because then it, then we take human lives off that table. We take people off that table of the ones we can relate to, and I can't accept that.
I find her less relatable because I was relating to her from my struggles as a cis man. So I find her less relatable as a cis man because she's not a cis man. And that's the only point I'm saying. Like everything she's gone through as a person, all of that doesn't make her less of a person. It just the parts of that video that I found relatable were because of the perspective I had as a fellow cis man. And knowing that she's not a cis man.
High five, fellow cis man. Hooray for cis men. Cis men have been responsible for so much of the progressive and wow.
What even is this point that I'm trying to make? My point is that cis men have fucking struggles that are, largely unique to cis men. And what you're trying to say, and now you're just like devaluing cis men as a concept. What are you talking about?
I'm saying they do experience struggles. They definitely do. The subjects that Abigail spoke about as Oliver do not become less relatable because she went through a transition. They are probably just as relevant. They definitely are. There's no probability. Like, I haven't seen the video, but I can't imagine that those issues and those struggles disappear through her transition. I'm sure they are just as poignant and relevant. So I find you saying that the video becomes less relatable strange. I think it's
perceive them differently. A woman will perceive these things differently than a man because of how they've been socialized.
Now, but when that was put out and was put out as its own piece in its specific time when it was published and put out, it like that all is like not restricted to the time, but it's rooted in what was going on and what was happening and what was being felt and experienced. So I don't see how someone who experiences some change in the future can somehow discredit her own work by becoming more of themselves.
It's not that
it's like and I want to say that because we have to be careful as people voicing an opinion or about this, and if we don't fully I don't know, I think we become the ones at risk for misrepresenting and misunderstanding them, and we have to be very careful about that.
But my point is, even before transition, before like anything happens there, they're mentally they're mentally not the same. So they're going to be perceiving things differently. Like Kat, prior to transition, experienced the same issues that we did, the same struggles that every human faces, but from a different lens because mentally she's not cis man. She's a woman.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm not refuting that. But yeah. I don't understand how like the struggles someone can experience before their transition can somehow be less relatable because they went through a change and you didn't. Because those
I'm not saying because they went through a change. If she had still been like if she never transitioned, she's still transgender, but she just is like mentally she's just different. Like mentally she's still going to be a woman even if she never changes her outward appearance to look like one.
See, that's where I don't think we're on the same page. Is I don't see her as I don't see her becoming like she's her own person, but like as a human being, as a person who experiences struggle, I don't think she becomes any different after a transition. Especially in ways that she can talk about. But like she can talk about a struggle that is directly about men's experience, and I don't see how her change in gender or her transition can be a diminishing factor on the relatability of that struggle.
See, that's where I'm agreeing. I don't think she was any different after the transition. I think
But I don't agree with how you are less feel like relate less to it. I just like I don't mean to like say that and like diminish your opinion.
Yeah.
But I think it's I think that the cause and the drive of where that opinion formulates can cause and create sort of obstacles and barriers from connecting with trans people.
So I'm just trying to explain what I'm like, where I am coming from this. But right now, as far as I'm aware, the prevailing opinion is that, psychologically speaking, trans women, even before transition, are like closer mentally to women than they are to cis men, even though no transitioning has happened, still the same chromosomes, still the same hormone levels, stuff like that. And so I had, when I first watched that video, I had the presumption that she had the same mental mens rea state of mind as a cis man going through life with that socialization and those gender norms and that interior, like, mental environment. But she had a different mental environment going on that none of us could see. And I don't blame her for not telling us, because she is entitled to her privacy. And it was none of our business. If she decided to never make a big deal about it or never transition or anything, that's totally fine, right? Like, we don't have to know that information about her at all, right? Or if, say, she started YouTube after she was trans and, like, she never said she was trans, 110% not our business, right? But the construct that I had in my mind was that she was Oliver Thorne, cis dude, had similar experiences to me growing up, similar brain chemistry, similar, like,
I mean,
thoughts about the world.
Those things I don't understand that, like even if someone at a young age is more slated to more feminine traits, they don't become less relatable as people.
No, and I relate to her as a person, no problem.
And their struggles don't become less relatable either.
But the way they perceive the struggles and the way they go through the struggles is coded differently depending on what gender they present as outwardly and what gender they have internally. And so,
but I think when you say that, it serves. I mean, yeah. I mean, those are. I would say those are two different and connected things.
Like you're seeing where I'm coming from, right? Like, if trans people are different from cis people mentally, of the same sex mentally, right? Like, that's probably
that's where I don't, because I don't think they are different mentally from us. I think they're the same mentally. I think they are people just like us.
No. I'm saying like they are closer to the opposite sex than they are the same sex, even though they were born with Y. Like, a trans woman is more similar mentally to a woman, even though they have Y chromosomes like us. That's probably something we can agree on, right?
I mean, yes, I would agree with that, but I don't. I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
I don't think that creates a barrier in who we can look up to as role models. I don't think that, it has to be discernible by men or women who we can relate to and look up to. I think that, as more people with varying identities become voices and people of, good moral and merit, and they do great things, that we can still look up to them regardless of our differences.
Yeah, but like,
and we can still relate to them regardless of our differences too,
And that's
regardless
true.
of regardless of a, a difference in our identities, especially when they talk about things that, you know, are connected with our own identities. We should we shouldn't feel less connected or inspired or related to those issues because the person who is talking about them isn't going to experience those things in the same way we did. It doesn't like the those things are still worth having those conversations and discussions about,
Yeah.
even if they are experienced differently because someone is going through other struggles.
Yeah.
It doesn't make those things less relatable.
But I'm saying, all right, think about it like this, right? I'm looking up to. Would you look up to Indiana Jones as a race car driver? No. You look up to him as
But
like.
it's weird. Well, why are you equating professions with identities? It's just that doesn't seem
I
right.
would
It's like
say.
it's kind of weird when like we talk about gender and then you use an example of race to try and like make a point about this. It's just kind of weird.
Do you think? Uh, do you think Carrie Fisher was a good man? Do you think she performed the roles of a man
What
well?
is what is I don't understand the purpose of this question.
Like, I'm saying you look up to someone for certain reasons, for certain qualities that they do. Like, there are people who,
Yeah,
you
well,
would
not
look up to,
the qualities that they do is just like I
or
don't
actions that they
understand.
do, things
Yes,
they do. Yeah. And performing the gender roles is a thing that you do.
it
I
is,
I was
but
looking up
it's
to
but it
my
it
version of
doesn't make up the
Oliver.
whole person.
I was looking up to my version, and that's what I'm saying. I was looking up to my version of Oliver for the way he performed the roles of a man, the masculine gender roles, how he existed as a man in society.
Well,
But
I think with that caveat, you might have to alter your image
yes,
to to fully embrace her content.
and that's why I'm saying I had this, and
But it's weird because it seems like you're doing the opposite. Because
I'm
you seem to be more distanced from it because she transitioned, which confuses me.
because what I was interested in from her was not super like I was interested in her content because it was progressive issues and men's struggles from the perspective of a cis man. And now
That's
it's
so weird. Why does it like why does it being from a cis man make it more appealing? Like I get it because like you want an identity to relate to.
yeah,
Yes. Okay.
yeah,
That makes sense.
yes. I you
I can
get it now.
see yeah, I can see the appeal, but I just like
I have to look for another cis male
you
person
don't have you don't have
who's
to look
experiencing these things and to
I
get their perspective.
I don't think you have to look like because but that's so strange to me because it implies that like her perspective is different because she transitioned. I'm sure that everything that she said in that video, she still um to like 90 whatever percent of like what she says in that is probably something that she still believes in. So I don't see how someone's identity can change. Like, I get it's important to identify with the voices that are speaking about things, But I think that we can't use that as a way of diminishing or discrediting how relatable those pieces can be to anyone.
But their perspective is different. And so I'm looking for another. So I wanted someone who has the same perspective as me on these issues.
I mean, if you do that, then
like,
you're not really opening yourself up. You know, you're kind of just you're kind of putting yourself in a box by doing that. You're kind of limiting yourself to only the voices that are like yours, when we should be listening to everyone's.
I still watch like ContraPoints. Like, I was introduced to ContraPoints after she transitioned, so I still watch her stuff, as you know, and I see her, and and I see Abigail, two prominent trans creators who have a lot of videos on very similar topics, and they have right, and it's like, it's important to see like her perspective as like a academically inclined trans woman from the area of the United States that she's in, right? But you don't just go to that one person's perspective on all the issues. You would go to like different people's perspectives, like you would go to like a Star Wars fan, right? Like you would go look up at like Star Wars theory, and like what's his perspective on the Acolyte, given that he has wildly different perspective on it than we do.
I still don't think that's really right, because I mean, these people did everything in their own power to find the information that they're presenting to inform us as an audience. And I don't think it's fair to use the label, like to create a label, or to pick up their identity as a transgender person and say that this means that I have to look for other inputs or sources or opinions about this, because I think when we say that, we are diminishing what is already presented to us.
I don't think that's true at all, because
I think it is. Because
I think you have to recontextualize it. Because
no, I think it's very important, because I think of like the civil rights, I think of women's rights, I think of all of these issues that come from communities and people that definitely don't share our identity, but their rights and their necessity of having those things heard by people like us, it comes from it has to happen to us first, the cis straight white guys, because if we don't internalize or embody, or if we don't embody what they believe in, right? If we aren't like people devoted to women's rights, to civil liberties, and we keep waiting for a cis white man to present those opinions, then we'll never find one.
But here's my point that I'm saying.
Because we, not even ourselves, are willing to bridge that gap.
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
As straight white people ourselves, or of varying identities. Like I think it's I think it's important that, like, even though people belonging to other identities raise points about issues, especially ones that we can relate to, that we don't say, hey, I don't feel as connected or related to it because suddenly you aren't as related and connected to me on the merits of your identity.
I'm
I think
talking specifically. Well, I think what you're not explaining in that is that the video that I found immensely relatable about Philosophy Tube was a video about cis men's issues. And if somebody else, like, all right, if say like a woman,
I mean it's just I
if a cis woman was talking about men's issues, does she have the authority to talk on those issues?
if she's educated enough, yes.
I don't think that's true. Do you
Well
think a
then
white
then,
man
then
do
we
you
are
think
in a
a white man
disagreement.
can talk about black issues if he's educated enough?
Yes.
Do you think he can be an authoritative subject on it though? No, because he doesn't have that lived experience. I wouldn't ask
That's
Ryan
so
Gosling
fucked up.
to
That's
play
so
Malcolm X. I wouldn't trust a fucking, just like I wouldn't trust Mickey Rooney to play an Asian guy, but the director of Breakfast at Tiffany's did, and that's a bad thing. Because when a white guy plays an Asian dude or a black dude, they're
I
gonna
think
get shit wrong.
I think impersonation is different than trying to voice some some form of speech or articulate about these issues and speak
Okay,
out and speak up on them the because creating a barrier for identities further divides us as people,
I'm going to trust the
especially
word
on the issues
of a
that what
of, like, if you told me something about what it's like being a New Yorker, right? Versus Katerina saying something about being a New Yorker. I'm going to trust you because you have the lived experiences of being a New Yorker. So if Oliver, tells me something about being a cis man while not being a cis man, then it's not the same as hearing it from someone who,
well
does truly
that's the
identify.
that's the contention you because your perception is different.
I feel like this is a question we could ask Kat about, and I feel like that is a topic we should absolutely do a
I
sequel on.
I
I
think
think
it
that would be really
I think
interesting.
it's just it's I think it's you know I'm people change it's they are transgender people, they are transitioning, they are changing, and maybe in that video when all this content was made, Abigail identified as Oliver, identified as a cis male person, and just because she is now with a different identity doesn't mean that it doesn't discredit all of that she experienced and that she shared and that she like opened up about and that happened to her. Like this stuff
I don't doubt that it
happened.
happened to
Like
her.
this stuff, but like why does that? I why does that inform your opinion that this is not a person who can can talk about these issues in a way that can relate to you?
Because her
Because
perception of them is different.
if that isn't the what is it? I don't.
I think
I
we should have Kat on next week,
I
and we
just
should talk about that.
I don't. All right. Uh,
I
can we
want to
can
ask her about this, but
can we
yeah,
put
let's
a
do the big red
can we put
button.
a bookend? Okay.
Yeah.
What is the big red button?
Um. Uh. Hmm. I know the bad thing.
Okay, please don't do that.
No, the bad. It's Star Wars related. Calm down. Put your dick away.
Fine.
It's the bad thing is Star
I was
Wars
just getting
related.
excited, you know.
You get to know who the the bad guy is, like the main bad guy. But you have to drink what that one Jedi drank. So for a brief period, you know the end of the story before everyone else, but you have to drink that shit. That glowing green poison shit.
But that would kill me.
Yes.
So
for about
I think
5 minutes, you know the ending of the show before anyone else, but then you have to die.
I think the answer is pretty obvious for me. I would not press that button.
It's tempting. It's tempting. This is what I love and hate about the weekly release model, because we're going to be talking about this for weeks on end, and it's going to keep us coming back every week, you know, eagerly looking forward to the time when it drops, but we're going to have to keep coming back to this every single time when it drops, and it's just like, ugh. Like, I wish I could have all of it now, and that's a good thing. That is a good thing, right? But, like, you get what I mean? You know, I'm so excited that I'm upset about not having more, you know? And that's my review of the show so far. Is it's very exciting, and it's set up a lot of intrigue, and I want to know more. And I'm jealous of the people who get early access to watch it, because they, you know, they get to watch this show in advance and just be like, wow, this is awesome, you know?
I know the content creators have all watched the first 4 episodes, and we haven't.
This is why we need to make the show bigger and better, so we can watch early access to this shit. Low key, that's like one of the biggest reasons why I've wanted to start a podcast and get really big and famous, so I could do that. You know, like, I don't want to go to galas or fancy events or anything like that. I would never do a live show of this podcast. You know, I know,
Wow.
one of the main influences that got me to start a podcast was the McElroy brothers, and they've done a lot of live shows. I would never. If I ever got an award for this, I probably wouldn't show up to get it. But I absolutely 110% would love to just, like, get early access to review this shit. That would be so cool. That'd be so fucking cool. But yeah, it's tempting to press the button, but all right, what about this? You get to watch all of the Acolyte, but you have to drink half the poison.
I have to what?
You have to drink half the poison, but you get to watch all of the Acolyte. You don't just get the final twist revealed. You get to watch all the show all at once, but then you have to drink half the poison.
So I think it would still kill me. I think half of it, I don't know. I still would not press that button.
Or maybe you get lightsaber stab like Reva. How would you feel about that? Would you take a lightsaber stab to watch the rest of the show?
I still would not. That sounds incredibly painful.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. What do you think sounds worse? Getting stabbed with a normal sword, or getting stabbed with a sword that's been superheated to 9,000 degrees?
Maybe the one superheated, you know? It cauterizes the wound. That's
yeah,
not bad.
But it definitely, I would say, hits more neurons. Like, it will destroy more nerve cells, but the wound is going to be larger because it's like hitting the nerve cells that are feeling the burn instead of the stab. So I don't know. Somebody who's been stabbed by both normal knives and very, very hot knives, reach out and tell us which one hurts more. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, please reach out and tell us. But other than that, this episode has gone a little long, as we are wont to do. But we want to thank Justin Connor for allowing us to have these nice, great discussions. By supporting us on Patreon, we really appreciate it. If you want to get a cool shout out like that, plus get early access to the first 30 minutes, I guess it was a little less this time, up to the ad break, definitely head on over to patreon.com, join the supporter tier. But if you want to listen to the whole episode early, ad free, and get access to all of our movie commentaries, join that influential and successful tier. It's great. We love it. You will love it. There's a free trial if you want to, give it a try before you, spend your $5. But we guarantee you'll love it. So, yeah, definitely, head on over there, give it a try. And you got that 7 days, and we really think you'll enjoy it. So, head on over to patreon.com/IIHS podcast. There's a link in the episode description as well. If you want to follow us on social media, we are at IIHS podcast on Threads, Instagram, and YouTube. Elon's still racist, so we're not on Twitter. When he stops being racist, we'll get on Twitter again, or when he stops owning Twitter. So we're being principled. Please clap. But that's about those 3 places are the best places to go for updates, Q&A, topic suggestions, that sort of thing. So definitely head on over there. That's where you're most likely to be able to reach us. But I don't have anything else to add. Sorry that this was a long episode, unless you like those, in which case you're welcome? ? There you go. But I don't have anything more to add. Do you?
No.
All right. Well, in that case, my name is Kael. I have been incredibly influential.
And I've been Maxwell, and I've been highly successful.
And we'll be talking to you guys next week.